Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Akemings, and today I wanted to talk about a VOD of mine from a few weeks ago. In this video, I will, I will talk about my general thought process, what things do I consider about the lane in terms of how the 1v1 matchup goes, how the 2v2 matchup goes, what things do I need to look out for early levels, what my win condition in the lane looks like, and how to get a lead and how to snowball a lead from the lane phase. So just from the get-go, the first thing that I'm looking, just from the loading screen itself, is the 2v2. Top lane is getting a lot of is can top lane can potentially get impacted quite a bit from the junglers, so I do need to consider them, both my jungler and the enemy jungler. So the 2v2 is Riven Kha'Zix against Akali Shyvana, and what we do know is that Shivana doesn't really look to contest the Kazakhs and try to contest scuttles against him or look to division. Generally, Shivana will want to pat away from the Kazakhs. She won't try to contest scuttles as much. She will be low health in the jungle early levels and such. So we do need to consider that. So I want to be able to play as far up as I can generally play. I will need to respect it because this 1v1 matchup is extremely snowbally. The first laner that will get an advantage can potentially snowball it extremely hard to one side into just 1v9ing the game. So yeah, in terms of the how the matchup goes in the levels and power spikes and such, I will need to be a tiny bit careful at the really early levels. Generally, Akali can't contest the Q auto, Q auto, Q auto from Riven. My Q and into passive proc is way lower damage. I will just straight up lose the trade early. I need all my abilities to contest her in some sense, and I need my E in order to dodge her knockup from the last kill. And with all my tools available, I can actually match her kit and potentially outplay her in trades. In terms of runes, generally it's quite a standard rune page. I went for Electro and Resolve. The only thing that you can potentially change up, that was my personal choice. I went for Ultimate Hunter instead of Ravenous Hunter. Main reason for that is the new Akali is quite ult dependent. So the higher uptime you have on the ultimate allows you to go for more plays. You'll just have more pressure on the map. Akali doesn't buy as much CDR compared to other champions. The only real core item that you get, which includes cooldown reduction, is Zhonya's Hourglass, and besides that, you don't really get cooldown. You don't really get CDR, so getting a specific stat for ult CDR is extremely important in my opinion. I valued it a tiny bit more than the Ravenous, especially because the Ravenous won't heal me as much because my main spammable ability is AoE. So it'll just generally heal me for way less compared to old Akali, for example, which actually healed a lot from it. So yeah, let's see how I play the early game out. Oh, and another thing is that I went for generally it was either Dark Seal and Refillable or Dawn Shield and Health Potion. I went for the D Shield because it's quite trade heavy matchup. So I valued more health and a bit more survivability from the Dawn Shield. I think it's the correct choice. The Dark Seal Refillable is a tiny bit greedier choice. You can potentially look for that, but I think the Dawn Shield is the better option unless you're confident you are straight up the better player, and then you can go for the Dark Seal Refillable. I'm trying to get down my overload for the extra ability power, and as you can see, a pretty straightforward mistake. I thought that I went for the Dark Seal and Refillable, so just potion up immediately. So now I'm at a disadvantage of 150 less health in the lane phase, which can potentially hurt me. It will change how I want to play the level 1 just a tiny bit. I will need to be a bit more careful in the way that I look for the trades and how do I check out the Riven. Generally, what I tend to do level 1s in the top lane is I want to get a feel for how the enemy top lane will react to my actions. If I'm doing option A, how will he react from his point of view? Will he go for A or B or C? I want to get some sort of profile, a checklist. I want to get a behavior check in a sense. I want to know how the Riven will react to me before she actually react to me. I want to know her every single move before she actually does that move. And the only way you can potentially get that game sense is just to check out your opponent. If you're doing a certain play, you're walking up, you contest a certain minion, you don't contest a certain minion, you throw a skill, etc., etc. That way, you eliminate the other options and you get a sense of how the enemy top lane wants to play out the lane, specifically in that timeline, in the lane phase. I will get a feel how she wants to play out the early game, if she have confidence in the matchup, if she knows how her winning trades looks like, and if she avoids her losing trades efficiently. And yeah, that's how I generally play out the level 1 on most champions. So yeah. So generally, she is pretty chill. She doesn't really do anything specific up until now. And that was the first behavior check that I've done in the lane. I wanted to see if she will actually contest me. And the moment that I've seen her walking up, I should have just back off completely. I should have just let that minion die, and I shouldn't have contested that because at level 1, I simply doesn't have the damage. I only do auto Q auto at best, while her Q auto will do way more damage to me. It just straight up I can't actually contest that in terms of damage. But she didn't really play it properly, and she tried to contest the minion that she shouldn't have contested. She had her Q on cooldown. She simply couldn't contest that. She barely won that trade, even though she could have won that a bit harder if she got an order off. But because she didn't actually leave out the minion, she tried to contest the minion when my cooldowns are up and hers when hers are down. So I simply won the trade. And from that point, I'm getting a feel that she doesn't really know how this matchup should looks like. At least in the early game, she just tried to use a Q to get level 2, but I managed to get level 2 at the same time, and I got a Q and passive proc honor. So, uh, she just she I just get from that she's not really confident. She doesn't know how to properly play this matchup early levels, so I can potentially abuse her lack of knowledge of the matchup. I've managed to equal out my level 1 mistake. Now I'm at a at a higher health threshold, and I started with one health potion down. As you can see, she just randomly decided to queue. I didn't even walk up to try and passive proc her. I just went for the Q harass. She's just not really confident about the matchup. I'm just using that to my own advantage. That specific trade was quite poor from my point of view. I shouldn't have go for that. I should have just back off completely. Now I'm in a bad spot because the only thing that I actually know is that Kha'Zix is around the topside river. I don't actually know where it is exactly. I do, as I've said before, our Shivana she can't contest the river at all early game. She took down the bot scuttle, so we can expect that the top scuttle will go to Kha'Zix, and I can't for certain. I simply can't stay in the lane in this with my current health pool. He can potentially just go all the way around or jump this wall and wait and gank me and just snowball this matchup. It's an extremely snowballing matchup, so I don't want to give him any sort of an opening to potentially impact it. So I'm just taking the recall. At best, I should have maybe went for a recall in this brush, so I will get at least the experience from the casters. But generally, I should just back off. I can't stay. Now, with this amount of gold, I'm trying to consider what are my best options. I'm trying to get as much value for my gold. So I went for the Daxian refillable, and the main reason for that is because nothing else really cut it. Amp Tome and a pink doesn't cut it. Amp Tome and a potion doesn't cut it. And the only other option that I could have considered was Longsword and refillable, but I valued a tiny bit more the Dark Seal and refillable, mainly because I valued a tiny bit more the sustain in terms of actual raw power, because as long as I just weather the storm against Riven early game, just from what I've seen in the first 2 minutes of the lane phase, I'm pretty confident that I will be able to outtrade her from level 4 and higher. So I just went for as safe and as much value for my back as possible. Riven is looking for a recall. She'll TP up to the lane, standard. At that point, I feel extremely confident, specifically because of how the first early levels went. I still have the sense that the Riven doesn't actually know how to interact in this matchup. So as long as I save a key ability to dodge something specific from her combo, for example, saving my Shuriken flip to dodge her last for last Q, I will just be able to outtrade her as long as as long as I don't just randomly use my skills, as long as I space my cooldowns correctly. I just need to chill out because I'm able to harass her from mid range in a sense. She needs to actually commit into me to get a favorable trade, and I will just have my shroud up in order to deny that. As you can see, a pretty straightforward kill, and the main reason why was it went so poorly for the Riven, a full new wave just arrived. She went into me. Just look at the aggro she gets from all those minions. She gets aggro from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 casters, and this minion is trying to run her down. She just get so much more damage than what I'm getting, and her own minion wave isn't really in the range to help her out. She just commits way too hard into my side of the lane. And as I've said before, as long as I dodge something specific from her kit, and I did manage to dodge the Q, I just won the trade straight up. Just W, level the Q mid chase, and kill her easily. From that point, I feel extremely confident with how the lane will look like in the future. My priority is to reset the just to fully shove out the lane and get my recall off. She loses a lot of experience. I just got level 6, and because I managed to fully shove it into the tower, I will be able to now the wave will bounce into me, and I can potentially look into freezing it close into my tower. Because I got an XP lead, that's my way of potentially abusing it. If she will push this wave and she won't get 6, so I can simply just try to keep the freeze for as long as I can possibly keep it. She can't really do much. She can't contest. The only thing that I need to the only thing that I need to consider is just hope she won't be able to get successful roam on other lanes. So, and we did have top scatter and the rod in the pixel brush, so the Riven couldn't actually look for pressure in mid lane. So as long and we know that her teleport is down, so she doesn't really have any potential play to go for something. So I just need to keep this freeze for as long as possible. The main thing for me is to trim down the wave so the melee minions won't reach the tower. Ideally, I want to have between around 4 to 5 healthy caster minions to hold down freeze for close to permanently freeze, as long as I don't mess it up. But because I went down here for some reason, now this caster died for no reason at all, and this freeze will break eventually. I can't really keep it for too long. So my game plan is changing a bit. I could have maybe looked for a play owner, but Riven is extremely mobile, and if I don't actually guaranteed, if I don't 100% get the kill for my first ultimate, it can potentially set me back a tiny bit. And I really want to work with as high of a percentage as possible. So just randomly ulting her and her just surviving 5% health here doesn't really accomplish much for me. So I just went for the tiny bit safer play because the freeze actually is broken. What I'm looking for here exactly the freeze is broken. What I'm looking for is just to the freeze is broken, and I know that my upcoming wave is a cannon wave, and the enemy minion wave is a cannon wave. I won't be able to fully shove it into tower. So what I'm considering is just slowly pushing it in. Slowly, I just consider a slow push. So I will have an option to diver not on this wave, on the next wave. I will be able to look for a dive with a huge wave, around 2.5 worth of minions. I'm just prepping the wave for a dive. She can't really go up. She can't really contest me. She is afraid. I got the XP lead. I got a huge wave. This one specific minion I couldn't actually contest her for, simply because a new wave arrived. When a new wave approaches the lane, you can't necessarily contest the enemy laner as hard compared to before, because if I did went for a trade here, I would have got aggroed from those three casters, those three melee minions, and from the Riven itself, and I would just simply lose the trade because I got aggroed for more minions compared to her. So yeah, that one minion from my point of view is fine. I can't actually contest her for every single minion. Knowing when to contest and when not to is also extremely important. Something that I want to talk about before I'm talking about the dive. Generally, people hear this concept a lot, but people don't really know what the meaning of it generally. I'm talking about lane priority. People hear it a lot from streams, from LCS and such, but they don't actually understand what it is or what causing it. So generally, lane priority comes from a situation like here. I'm just ahead, so she can't. Generally, lane priority comes from having more kill pressure on the enemy on the laner against you. So it comes from the jungler showing up. So you just have to give up a bit of pressure. You can't contest the wave. So the enemy laner and the jungler will be able to push it faster. You simply have to back off because you're in a 1v2. Or because you just died earlier. So if you contest the wave in a position that you can't actually contest it, you just get punished. If you're behind, let's say your enemy laner is here and you're the red side, and they contest the wave here. You have this whole area to chase him down, and because he already died, he can't actually contest the wave. Generally, he'll just die again. It needs to respect your kill pressure. Also, lane parity can comes from just missing, having a mismatch in terms of certain abilities. You have an ultimate and your opponent doesn't, or you have a flash and he doesn't, so you just need to play with a bit more respect. So you have the opportunity to push him in. Generally, with lane priority, you have multiple usages. The main one is having a more freedom because league is based around getting steady gold and experience income every 30 seconds. You just play around the fact. You know that the enemy laner wants to keep this gold and experience income. He will have to keep it in order to not fall too far behind. You simply have to. The lane phase is all about getting as much gold and experience income compared to your lane opponent. So when you shove out the wave first, you finished what you need to do up until the upcoming wave shows up. You have all this free time to look, to roam to other lanes or getting deep vision on the enemy jungler and such, or depends on the matchup you play or the lane you play and jungle pressure and such. You can potentially look to use your priority with a slow push into a dive. Akali is a quite oppressive champion when ahead. She can dive 1v1 almost any squishy in the game simply because of her shroud, as long as there is not too much CC to worry about. If she, especially when she got, because especially because I got a kill pre-6, I would just know for a fact that I will be able to get a kill at 6 if I get a slow push with a full wave. And if I actually pull it off, I will just be able to snowball extremely hard from it. For some reason, our animation looked extremely weird, but yeah, it was extremely straightforward. I'm way too far ahead, and the I had the gold lead and XP lead. She couldn't really stay. She should have just back off the wave completely, especially because Kha'Zix hovered bot side. She couldn't just. She simply couldn't actually stay around. So yeah, from that point, I'm extremely big. I have 1k gold lead on her. I have 2 level lead on her as well. She will be able to catch a bit, but I'll still have an extremely big lead. Uh, a small mistake that I tend to do. I try to look for a tiny bit too safe of a recall. I could have just went for recall here or here. Because I went all the way here, I just lost a bit of experience from the upcoming wave. Main reason why I went for the big water cutlass or not something else like Seekers or the revolver. Even though the revolver is insane on Akali, I had exactly 1.5k gold. I wanted to get as much power from this upcoming buy, and Bijwa and the Cutlass will grant me more kill pressure. And I don't actually need Seekers because at that point we noticed that the Kazakhs just left top lane on an island. It doesn't want to try and impact it because you know that I can potentially turn it around. So yeah, I just want to complete my gunblade as soon as possible. Also, something that I wanted to mention earlier. Let's say that, one sec. Let's say that here, generally, as I said, there are multiple options to choose from when you have lane priority. Now, when you go for one of those options, you can't actually pick the second one as well. If I go to diver, I won't have. If I go not necessarily to diver, if I look just to pressure her and the tower, and the harasser and contester for the wave, I won't have the time available to get deep vision. And also the other way around. If I go into the enemy jungle and row down here and look to maybe get a row off at the mid lane, I won't actually have the time to contest or for the wave. I'm giving up my pressure for either. I'm using my lane priority for either for pressuring her in the lane or just getting the vision for my team, for me and my team, to get information on the Kazakhs. And another thing is I'm sitting on two words on my trinket, and even though I do need to word, I didn't want to again. I didn't want to if I go to here or here to word just a tiny bit, she will be. Let's just say that I don't have a vision at all on the Kazakhs. Okay, I'm saying it from that point of view. She will just be able to potentially cut down the wave if she knows what's going to happen, if she reads my game plan. So I didn't want to give her this chance at all. And also, if Kazakhs does show up, I have an insane wave to work with. And I have all my tools available except for my flash. And I have higher level than her. I have 5 casters, have a cannon wave. They won't be able to, even if you show up, you won't be able to do much. I will just simply be able to outplay that. So that's another reason why I didn't just necessarily blindly walk into just dropping a word here, because that specific word won't actually provide me with any valuable information, because either way, if he shows up or not, my game plan will remains the same. So there is simply no reason for me to actually go and word here. I could have potentially, for example, I something do need to consider the mid lane going up and roaming into top, but this specific game, the mother was already behind, so I doesn't need to respect him as much. So I can't play it the way I want to play it. I don't actually need to consider those stuff. Where was I? Oh yeah, after the recall. Sorry. So now I'm spam pinging my jungler to help me out to get the first tower, because the enemy bot lane are also trying to work on it. We lost it, but it's fine. I'm still extremely ahead topside. The animation looked weird again here as well. Even though it went 1-for-1, from my point of view, it's more than fine. Simply because I got not only Riven just got an assist, I got a kill and a double buff, so I can just keep on the pressure even though I don't have an ultimate, and she didn't use her ult herself. And also another reason why I still keep pushing instead of just going to buy or something is because Yasuo is also pushing, and Riven had she had two options, either to stay and defending top, or trying to contest or either trying to collapse at mid lane. Because she collapsed at mid lane, I could have just kept push in the top lane for free. And the main reason why I went to actually fully push it in and actually get the tier 2, simply because I had the cannon wave. Cannon waves not only does way more damage to the tower, they also buy more time for the upcoming wave to show up. So I didn't just had one wave to work with, I didn't had just one wave to work with, I had two waves to work with. And because Yasuo pressured and I had a good timing on my cannon wave, that was the main reason why I got simply a full tier 2 tower for basically free. It was simply because Yasuo pressured hard and the good timing on the wave. Now I'm looking. Now I'm extremely ahead. I got my gunblade. I'm looking to make a play. First, before I channel my TP, I wanted the enemy team to actually commit into a certain location. If I just TP when they all hovered around here, they could have just back off into here. So I just waited a tiny bit more so they will collapse into my team. Unfortunately, my team couldn't actually close their exit, but it's still fine. Main reason why it was fine because the Tristana pathing was quite questionable. At that point in the game, I'm trying to look what's my next step, what's my next play. I'm looking top lane. I see that I have no reason to actually go up here. I will be able to collect a huge wave in around 2 minutes, around minute and a half. And and I'm looking down bot lane. I see um, that I do have enough health pool on my team to actually work with to make a play down here. I have everything that I need. I have my ult up. I have my ult up. I have my flash. I don't have my gunblade, but it's still more than enough. Oh, and I'm also level 9, so I have as much damage as possible from that sense. Generally, my position was quite a bit too afraid. It was fine for me to let the Shyvana to tank the Malzahar ult for me, but I should have hovered more around here instead of just hovering around here. So yeah, but it was still extremely good. I got a lot of kills out of it. I got a kill on the Braum, on the Malzahar, assists on the Tristana and the Kha'Zix. Now at that point, as you can see, I'm just heading up to top lane to receive a huge wave. The last time I've been in top lane was around 11:30. So 2 minutes after that, I'm just collecting a huge wave, getting a lot of gold. Now, something that people might ask is why I didn't actually went to help out in the mid lane. It was either getting it was either me getting free 300 gold from and almost full level of experience from this wave, or helping out in the mid lane. And the main reason why is, as I've said before, you want to work with not only you want to work with as high percentage as possible, you also want to keep you want to keep your lead. You don't want to bleed out your lead just because you're ahead. And because I just looked to make plays all over the map, I didn't actually farm for like 2 minutes. So I just let this whole wave slow push into me, and I knew that I will eventually have to go up top lane and soak up all this wave. And another reason, as I've said, uh, also the experience, and I didn't actually had my tools available. I didn't had my ult up, so there was actually no reason for me to go there. If I'm going to defend down mid lane, all this wave, all the experience and gold just being wasted. You'll just you'll just chunk the top tower, and we will just lose all the experience and gold for no reason at all. It was it was a guaranteed 100% 300 gold. There is no reason for me not to actually go up and take it for free. I try to work with as high percentage of play as possible. Taking that wave is the highest percentage available, and going to mid lane when I doesn't have an ult isn't a high percentage play. And another thing is that I consider that a fine trade, even though the tier 1 tower at mid lane is extremely important for map pressure, for tempo, and general control of the game. It was a fine trade because not only did I keep my own lead, and I keep getting it even further, because I literally just got a free kill. All this CS was legit a free kill. It's like just a random champion showed up in the game and I just killed him. And the tier 1 tower, the whole gold from it was split across 5 members. So even though they got more gold out of it, in my mind it was fine, because all this huge wave was focused mainly on me. All the gold is being funneled on me, while all the gold is just spread out on the enemy team. So from my point of view as an assassin that wants to keep his lead, it's a worthy trade. And now that I'm having my ult, I am looking to make a play around mid. I'm hovering. Another reason why I hover is because I don't actually have the vision to keep pushing, even though I will potentially kill her if she just contests the wave randomly. I do know that she will probably look to avoid me, because she already noticed the skill gap between us in this specific game. And because I'm extremely ahead, there's just no reason for her to actually walk up. And if she does walk up to me, it will only be if her team reinforces her. And right now I don't have the vision necessary to keep pushing here. There's just no reason for me, so I just pushed one wave and I have a mid lane just so my team will get priority again, because the enemy team will need to respect my pressure because they don't have because they don't have vision around me. Now after I dropped pink in the pixel brush and another world near the blue, I feel a tiny bit more confident in pushing this wave. Now there is not really much to look for. Generally, we do want to look for Herald. Right now, I'm just chilling because I don't actually have a pressure from the rest of the team. Shyvana got caught in the jungle. Generally, it was a mistake for me. I should have just straight up went for the bomb twist. Main reason for that is Malzor didn't had mana available. He simply couldn't actually do much. So when I know that he won't be able to contribute to the team fight at all, I simply should just go to pressure the Tristana and Kiro, because I know that he won't be able to impact the team fight any longer. He finished his job. If he survives or dies, it won't impact the team fight at all. If I went for the Tristana or Braum, I could have denied her a few kills. Either Ezreal or Shen, or maybe even both could have survived. That could have been a way bigger team fight for us. Main reason why I channeled the recall here is because I didn't notice the Yasuo death timer. After I noticed it, I just canceled it, and all because it matched with the Riven with the wave that Riven pushed, and because she didn't show any intention to actually keep pushing. And also I needed a tiny bit more gold from top lane, so I just took down this wave, and now I got exactly enough for my upcoming buy. I went for a tiny bit greedy buy, but it's greedy in a good sense. What I mean is the whole enemy team is quite AD heavy, and as long as I play around the fact that I don't have QSS, so I just avoid the Malzahar, and I just look for every fight around the other members on the enemy team, I will be able to 1v2 pretty much anyone, because I just have way more than enough tankiness and damage to actually work with. So I just need to respect the Malzahar ultimate, and this buy is extremely strong. I just chase down the enemy bot lane to deny them safer approach to the inhib, to defend the inhib. Maybe I could have potentially collapsed with my team. We got a lot of towers out of it. We got the mid inhib tower. We got the tier 2 at bot lane. That fight was tiny bit of playing with fire, but it ended up working, mainly because we are extremely far ahead. I just wanted to Zonia's the to deny the E reset for a W. Main reason why I didn't actually go for that, why I didn't actually go to finish him, because I didn't had my shroud available, and my main actual goal here was just to get the inhib. I just wanted to pressure them just a tiny bit more, just to guarantee the inhib. I don't actually need to kill him. Killing him won't change anything about this game, and I can potentially die if I misplay, if I don't have my shroud up, because I'm 9-0 right now. If I would have killed him, the Tristana would have got a shutdown of 10 kills worth of gold. It will be around like close to 1k gold. I really don't want to give her that channel. I will also lose Dark Seal stacks. So that was, it simply wasn't worth it. The reward compared to the risk wasn't worth it. If I had my shroud, I would have went for that, but I simply didn't. So there's no reason for me to actually go for the kill, because it won't change much. If I kill him or I don't kill him, it won't change the fact that I'm going to go for a reset. We couldn't actually get more on the map out of it. This specific push was extremely greedy. I have to admit, there was no reason for me to stay. It was one more wave type of mentality, and it was extremely wrong. If I wasn't, it didn't matter because I was so far ahead, but that could have potentially cost me my life and just slow down the game a tiny bit. I simply shouldn't have went for that because I've already had enough for my QSS. So it was just straight up wrong. It was straight up greedy stay for free, for just for the one more wave type of mentality, which you should sometimes avoid. Sometimes you need to look for those, and sometimes you don't. Now, my next item that I'm aiming for is, right now I'm considering either utility or survivability. That's my main goal. I don't need any high profile damage items. I don't need dead cap. I don't need Lich Bane. I don't need any of those stuff. Simply because when you're so far ahead on Akali, you already have the damage. You already tend to overkill squishes. All you really need is just having the survivability, having the health, having the resistances, just to buy yourself more time to get those Q and the passive procs, to get your cooldowns off, to actually maneuver in the fight. The tankier you are, the less you need to worry about stuff. You can play more aggressively. You have more freedom in the team fights. So that's my general thought process. That's why I generally went for as safe of a build as I can possibly look for. The tankier I will be, the easier it will be for me to deal my damage. I'm extremely far ahead. I couldn't actually misplay that fight. There's no way that they can actually defend against me. Pretty straightforward fight from my point of view. As long as I don't actually just randomly flashing in or on for no reason at all, or I don't just ult there or doing something stupid, there's no reason for me to misplay those fights as long as my logic is sound, long as I have a game plan in my mind. There's no actual way that I will be able to misplay with this sort of lead. I'm just way too far ahead. I've built properly. I got all the tools that I needed. I got all the freedom in the team fights. I got the Zonias. I got the QSS. I still had my flash. And generally, I did consider my flash a tiny bit more as an extra defensive capability instead of actually considering it more for the aggressive approach. Because I just didn't really want to risk it. I know that I have more than enough mobility. I won't really need to use my flash aggressively. I just need to use it in order to dodge a specific skill or something extremely important from the enemy. About my item purchase, the choice was either between Morello or Riley's. As I've said, I've considered mainly uh, survivability or utility. And because I didn't feel like I actually need the damage, I didn't actually need the magic pen from the Morello. I just want to consider as much of a utility as possible because I already have more than enough damage, so I can just play it a tiny bit more safe in the itemization. That could have potentially been a mistake, but generally it was fine. As you've seen, my team was quite afraid to actually look for a play, even though I have teleport. So I just pushed 2 waves and look to hover around their lanes because I've noticed that if I won't be there with them, they won't actually look to make a play. I need to be there. I need to be the one who creates the plays. Even though I didn't actually kill the Tristana, I forced her to back off completely. So they just lost out the fight. Pretty straightforward. There wasn't much that she could have done. If I did, if I did have my Gambit up and I had my Morello instead of Riley's, she would have probably died there. So generally in this game I've showed how to actually snowball elite. There was barely no interference in top lane. Shyvana wasn't around. The Kazakhs show a tiny bit of pressure in top lane. I've played around that as long as I didn't actually mess up. I know, as long as I just played around this pressure, I know that I will be fine. And I just steadily took my lead. I didn't just went for every single fight that was available just because it was ahead. I always try to consider what resources I have available to work with. Either my own cooldowns or my team's. Shen ultimate, Shyvana ultimate, flashes, and stuff like that. I don't want to just. Yeah, if you're ahead, the worst thing that you can do is just pick fights simply because you can. You don't really want to do that. You always want to work with as high of a percentage as you can. Just like the dive I did, I work with a high percentage play. I could have went for the kill here, but I had a higher chance to misplay that, and the Riven could have actually lived with me burning my ultimate and not getting a kill, or with the wave instead of defending the tier 1. I've worked simply with the higher percentage play. I got a free kill here, and I've lost the tier 1 for that. Because I didn't believe that I had a high percentage of play to actually contest it. So that was how I generally approach things. I'm trying to work with as high a percentage of play. Sometimes you do need to take risk and you do need to take the low percentage plays, but when ahead, you have a way more freedom. You can really consider your approach. You have more freedom, you have more time to actually think those plays and actually and just pick the right engages and the right fights, and knowing when to pick side lane waves, when to actually fight, if you have the proper cooldowns to fight or not, what's your actual win condition looks like in terms of how you want to play out the lane, how you want to play the team fights as well. So yeah, I snowballed this game quite hard. The Riven didn't really know how to approach this matchup. You can just see that she doesn't really understand how the lane should look like, what she needs to consider, and what's her win condition necessarily looks like. I do think that Akali have an advantage in the lane after levels 3, 4, and above, but early levels, I think that a good Riven can potentially dictate how this lane will look like, and she could have potentially changed up the whole top side if she did play it properly. Kha'Zix can potentially look to invade on the Shyvana, get an extremely topside heavy favorite for them, and putting me and Shyvana behind. And that didn't happen. So I just ended up snowballing completely out of control. I hope you like this video. If sorry for mumbling or just losing words. I'm not too used to those kind of stuff. If you liked it, disliked it, if you have any advices or want to say anything specific, generally I'm a top lane main. I'm Diamond 3 in both EUNE and EU West. I did consider doing those stuff for quite a while. I'm not sure if people do want to see those kind of stuff from players below masters. So yeah, if you guys like that, leave a comment or something. Share it with other top lane mains that you know. Um, that's it for today. Thanks, guys. Peace.